Hey guys, welcome back to Hot Rod Reverend here on YouTube. We're glad that you joined us. Thank you to all the new subscribers lately. Most of you have been following the Y-Block build with Tim McMaster up in Hanford, California. Others of you, maybe you just started tuning in because of the head work that Tim's been doing on the ECL-C or ECL-A heads and making a poor man's G head. So we've got a lot going on in that regard. And I know there's some other things on the channel here people have been checking out. So very good to have all the support, and thank you for it. Now, what we're going to do is just give you a quick update on what's going on with the 3 Deuce intake. You can tell I've got all of my carburetors disassembled and cleaned. Very important with the Holley 94 that you make sure everything is sealed up from vacuum leaks. So if you got just a minute, we'll kind of walk you through what we're doing here. So basically, I've got all of my bases completely disassembled, and I've taken out the throttle shaft, taken off the butterflies and all of that. Ford made Holley 94s for a long time, from the 30s to the 50s, and there are millions of them that are out there. A lot of them are worn out, that's true. I've got a lot of cores here at the shop, and there's 3 of them that I've chosen. 2 are ECW, 1 is an ECG6, which was a 1956 Ford model year. 272s had the automatic choke on the side there. All 3 of these carbs are 1 1/16 of an inch, and what we're talking about is basically this bore right here for the throats. Now, a lot of guys will look at a Holley 94 and they're not very familiar and think it's a single barrel carb. This is a 2-barrel carburetor, 3 bolt holes like a Stromberg would be, and all of that. So just a couple of nuances here. These are the largest carbs that Ford had produced for cars and trucks, the 1 1/16. They are different. And just to show you the difference here, you can tell these 2 gaskets just do not line up. And most gasket kits or most rebuild kits are going to come with both of these, all right? And you can tell from this gasket here that we are lining up with the 1 1/16 of an inch. Now, very important to remember on a Holley 94, you want to keep yourself from vacuum leaks. And one of the things that you've got to remember in your kits is that there are different size gaskets, not just for the base, but also for the rest of the, maybe the fuel bowl, the air horn itself. For the most part, these Holley 94s come in 3 sections. You've got your base, you've got your fuel bowl, and then you've got your air horn. Obviously, I have removed the butterflies, right? The whole throttle shaft from here, drill out the rivets. I think most of these you're going to find that they've been installed with rivets and kind of peened over. So you're going to have to drill those out and knock them out, pull the throttle shafts out. Of course, going to the 3 Deuce intake, we're going to go progressive linkage with this. I've got something from Speedway right here. We'll get into that in a couple more videos. So you got to have extended throttle shafts, unlike what you have for stock. And there's several companies out there that sell them and make them available to you. Fuel bowl here, something very interesting that I want to kind of go through because it has to do with the idea that the ECW and the ECG6s were set up for automatic chokes. Now, the way that this worked, the way the Ford did this in the 50s was that these were all thermostatic chokes. They weren't electric chokes. So it would draw hot air into the cap. And just to show you kind of how this would sit on the air horn here, right? Just like this. And it was the cap there, bottom of this tube would suck in warm air from the crossover, the intake manifold. I think later on, even Ford in the late 50s was still using thermostatic chokes, of course, and it would draw off the exhaust manifold itself. But what happens is that there has to be a little bit of a vacuum inside of that cap, inside of that choke housing, to draw in the warm air to make that choke back off when your engine's warmed up. That passage is right here. It's very important you remember that, because what happens is if you don't get the right gasket, this will not seal very well. Just to show you, I've got 2 gaskets here, and you can tell they look very much the same, but there's one part here. If you look on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see that that is the hole right there for the vacuum passage. And just to see how this kind of lines up right here, you can tell how all those holes line up and everything's good and hunky-dory. Some of the cheaper kits do not include this gasket that makes sure that your air horn, and you can tell right here, we'll just kind of put this on here so you can see right there, you see where I'm pointing to, that's the vacuum passage that is pulling in hot air inside of your choke housing, so that it's going to make sure that you're going to have warm air actuating your choke. You want to make sure as well that you have a flat surface. One of the things that Holley 94 suffer from over the years is being rebuilt many times, being disassembled, warpage, and you can tell when these surfaces here mate to each other, you want to have these surfaces completely flat. Of course, there's a good reason to use a gasket. I don't know if you can tell or not, but there you go. You see that light that's shining through there? You're not completely flat. And this is so important. You can tell how it's kind of warped a little bit. What we're going to do is take a piece of glass, and we're going to make sure, using a straight edge, that this is completely flat right here, that this base is completely flat. Most often it's not the cast iron, it is your pot metal base. Now, all of these parts have been cleaned in my ultrasonic cleaner, and you can use a soda blasting. If you use glass beads, be extremely careful with these. You want to make sure everything is 110% spotless. Any kind of media, completely free of that, and extremely clean. All of us know that the passageways inside a carburetor are very, very important, and carburetors are very sensitive to having any kind of trouble with debris. That's why you have fuel filters and all the rest of it, of course. But when you clean one up, you want to make sure it is completely scot-free of any media at all, any junk. Blow these out with air and use carb cleaner, and make sure every orifice, every passageway is 100% clean so that you're ready to go. Now here's what we're doing to set up these three carburetors. I have removed the choke plates from the first carb, well, the outer carbs, the first carb and the last carb. The center carb still has its choke plate, and that's going to be the only one that has the power valve. The other two will have power valve plugs. We'll just seal off those passages completely. We will also bottom out the idle mixture screws on both outer carbs and just use the center carb with the power valve and then also with the idle mixture screws. And the plan is to run off that center carb until with this progressive linkage, we get maybe halfway throttle and then those butterflies open. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in another video. But one of the things that we need to do with these, and I'll do this off camera, is to seal the holes where the shaft for the choke was located. Now, just to review very quickly, what we're going to do is take the center carb and make that the only carburetor sending a vacuum signal to the distributor. I've got a separate video here on my YouTube channel that takes you through the modifications for a Holley 94 that anybody can make. It's very simple to do with just some stuff off the shelf and drilling a passage here and plugging this port there, all that kind of thing. It works extremely well. I've even used the same kind of setup from Ted Eaton. Of course, I'm wearing his shirt tonight here in the Hot Rod Reverend Skunk Works, but I've got one on the Holley 4000 as well here on the YouTube channel if you're interested in that. Also, that's the only carb that will have a power valve. Now, I'm not quite sure what settings we're going to go to with the jetting, and just sticking with the center carb for right now. I may go straight all the way through with jets the same size. I may start with one a little bit larger in the center and then smaller. I don't know, depending on what's going on. If I can't get the outer carbs to seal very well, maybe something different I'll do with jetting on that. It might be something I'm going to have to chase for a little bit to get this when we first initially put it on the engine. But another thing about the carburetors is the outer carbs, their ports for vacuum advance are going to be blocked with the plug. And then as well, and by the way, that's just right there on these Holley 94s. Their auto mixture screws will be completely seated, and the power valve will be plug. And here at the back of the base on the outer carbs, it'll just be a plug as well, non-functional. All we want to do is just send in the fuel and the air mixture, kind of working like, if you could say it this way, mechanical secondaries would on a 4-barrel. It's really what kind of action we're going to get from those two outer carbs. One last thing before I let you guys go, and that is this, is the bores on this intake manifold are small in comparison. So we look at 1 1/16. Here is the gasket that matches, right? You can see there, you're going to have any trouble. There's no step. I'll be able to get all the flow through. When I take this gasket and put it on the manifold, you can tell there that these bores are going to be extremely tight. I'm going to have to do some port work, so to speak, for these bores so that I can make sure that my butterflies will have enough room. I'll probably end up putting a 1/4 inch spacer on each one of these, but regardless, I'm most probably going to need to do some port work at some point, and that is a little bit of a nuance. Secondly, about the intake manifold, I am going to go ahead and helicoil all of the holes. If you guys recall, these are at 3/8 of an inch right now. We're going to go 5/16, 18. I've got some inserts coming, so we're going to put them in, and that way I can go with any kind of a stud that I want as far as length goes. Let's bring it back to what this really needs to be, and that way I won't have to modify the holes here in all of my bases. I want to leave them the same. I know there's a lot going on the channel. It seems like every few days we've got some good uploads coming. I just want to let you guys know we are busy, although like a lot of us, I work full time and there's a lot of things going on. I try to get in the shop when I can, but when I get back, I'm going to be speaking at junior camp here next week with all of our kids. It's a great Bible camp that we're going to. So when I get back from there, I will get to work on these carburetors, start putting them all together. Hopefully my jets will be here by then. I've got a few kits coming along the way, and also my power valve plug. So give those a few days, and we'll get back on this. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next one.